Let's just talk about environment variables in Linux, right? So these are the dynamic values that are stored within a system, and they're used by applications launched in shells or subshells, right? And these values obviously have names and corresponding values stored in them. Now, when we talk about environment variables, we should know that they can have information about default applications of the system. For example, they know about system locale, they know about the path of the executable file. For example, they know your keyboard layout settings and much more. Whatever that currently your system is using, all of that information is stored in multiple environment variables, right? So the very first variable that we will talk about is path variable. So when we talk about path, it's kind of similar like setting up a path in Windows operating system. So whenever you install a new application, you have to tell your Windows operating system that I have installed this new software in that directory. So whenever I will call you to start this application, go and look for this software in that specific directory, you know, and that's how we set the path of a new software like Anaconda or pip or Python or FFmpeg software, right? Now, same is the case for a Linux operating system. When we talk about path variable, in this variable, we store all the information of new softwares that we install, and we save the directories in which we have stored the values of those softwares, and we migrate or add those directories to our path variable. And we tell our Linux system that whenever I will call a new software in terminal, go and look for that software in this directory, right? And that's how your system recognizes your newly added softwares or applications, right? And we can actually go ahead and see this path variable, and we can see that what kind of information it has in it. So for that, all we have to do is just go ahead and use echo. Now, echo is a command that helps you in seeing the value of a specific variable. Now, if we just go ahead and write this path, it will just go ahead and give you this path as an output, right? Because you just ask this echo to print this, right? So it's kind of like printing something. It just printed path. If you want to know the value of this path, all you have to do is write this $sign before your variable. Now, if I just go ahead, hey, you can see we have this couple of different information in it, right? If you just pay attention to this information, you will see that few directories are separated by these columns, right? It is something else. This is for something else. This is for something else, right? So let's just go ahead and talk about this. Right now, if we just go ahead and install your games, right? Or if there are any built-in games in your Linux operating system, they are installed in this user/games directory. So if I just go ahead and write a game here, for example, I write a name of the game and I enter that name in the terminal and I hit enter, this terminal will go to this directory and see if any of the game that I just called for is present in this directory or not, right? So if that game is present there, then this terminal will recognize it and it will initiate that. If that game is not present there, then the system will just tell you that whatever you have asked me to do, I don't know about it, it will give you an error, even though if you have installed that game correctly, right? So it's very important that when you install something, make sure that its value or its installed directory is added to the path of your system. Otherwise, even if you have installed your application correctly, your system is not going to recognize it, right? And hence, it's not going to initiate it or execute it, right? So this is how you can, access the content of your path. And if you want to add your newly installed softwares directly to the path of the system, all you have to do is just go ahead and I should say you can write export, and then you will call your path variable, right? And then here you will just tell that go to this folder. For example, if I have installed Anaconda, right? So what you can do is you will write /bin Anaconda 3, right? So you will tell your path variable or you will give this value to your path variable, that whenever I just write Anaconda or conda command in terminal, go to this directory and see if Anaconda is installed. If it's there, then recognize it and do whatever I'm asking to do. If there is not, then it will just go ahead and give you an error, right? So that's how this is the syntax in which you can set the path to your newly added software, right? And export is just a command that will help you to do that. It helps you in setting up the values to environment variables, right? So when we talk about environment variables, you should know that path is not the only variable that we deal. We have other sorts of variables as well. Let's just go ahead and see a few of them. So we will use echo to print the value of environment variable, and we have an environment variable called user. So here right now it's telling me that Marshmallow is our user. So exactly when I try to log into my computer, at the login stage, it asks me to enter the username and password, right? So there I enter Marshmallow and then the password, right? So that's why it's telling me that this is the user right now of this operating system. That's the user that you're working on, right? So that's how you can see that how many users are present in a operating system, because there might be a possibility that there is a guest user, which usually is the case when you are working in schools or colleges or offices, right? So one account or one user is an administrator user, and the other user is just a employee user or student user, right? So that's how you can see that how many users are present there. Another variable that we can see is UID, which gives you a unique ID to your user, right? So to do that, again, use echo and write UID here. And here you can see that this 1000 is the unique ID of my user Marshmallow. If you want to see that where is your bash installed, that we just discussed in the previous lecture, you can write echo and then you will write shell here, and it will tell you that it's present in bin bash. Now when we talk about this path here, you should know that this path is by default user bin and then bash, right? So this user is default, right? And everything that we install in this system will be inside the user folder. So that's why I just omitted that and told you that go to bin, and then inside the bin just go to this bash directory, and there your shell is installed, right? So that's why you don't see user here. There's another command which is env. Let's just go ahead and see that if we can print it here like this. Okay, so what you can do is simply just go ahead and write this command, and here it will give you all the variables that are currently present in your operating system, and against them it will also give you all the values that are stored in it. For example, here we have this shell we just saw, this was its value, right? We have another variable called home, and here you can see this is the home directory of Marshmallow, right? So this is Marshmallow user and this is the home directory. And just like that, we have all the other default environmental variables of this system and their values stored against them. Now, after we have done all that, there is a way in which we can create new environment variables, which is the case when you install a few applications. Few applications just require that you create a new environment variable and store their own values in it, right? So I'll just go ahead and clear this. And what we can do is we can understand the syntax of setting up an environment variable, which I showed a few minutes ago as well. So it's like new variable and then equals, and then this is the value, right? So export helps you in setting up the value to the variable. This is the name of the variable, and equals the value of the variable that you want to store, right? So let's just go ahead and use the exact same name, and instead of value, I will write 56, right? So if I just go ahead and enter it, this new variable has been created. You can see if this has been created or not. You can use echo $ new variable. And here you can see as a result, we have 56 with us. So that's how you can create your own environment variables for application specific tasks, right? There is a way in which we can delete these new environment variables as well. And for that, all you have to do is use this unset and then the variable that you want to delete, right? So in this case, that variable is new variable. So I'll just go ahead and write new variable, right? So just like that, you have deleted this variable. If I just go ahead and try to print that variable again, hopefully the value will be deleted, right? So right now, because you just deleted that new variable, so that's why when we asked echo to print the value of this variable, then it just gave you this blank prompt because there was nothing inside it. So that's how you can work with setting environment variables and the default environment variables.